there's one guy that got noted as one of the top 100, top 100 freshmen. And I'm glad he did. And it tells me that he has impressed Tennessee's coaches, because a lot of these stories, a lot of these long form articles, this one from 24/7, comes from talking to coaches. And you know about one guy.
Iamaleava.
His first name is Nico, one of the top 100 freshmen in the sport of college football. But the other is Arion Carter. Arion Carter at linebacker really wowed some people as far as incoming freshmen. To me, it's him and everybody else as far as having a huge impact this year. It's Arion Carter and the field, in my opinion. Any disagreement with that if I laid that out for our Zen Sports bet?
Actually, yes. So I would say probably maybe over Nico, because we don't know if Nico's going to start. But
Which is Nico.
Iamaleava.
Sorry, go ahead.
Two things. I've covered enough spring practices now where, Dave, I got to be honest. First off, linebacker's not much. It's not that far ahead of running back in terms of a bunch of random names crop up in spring practice that stand out at linebacker.
True.
And so I have to take what Arion Carter did with a grain of salt from spring practice. When you add in the fact that the defense is always supposed to be ahead of the offense in spring ball, like, again, it's very iffy what to believe with that. On top of that, Tennessee has a proven commodity at linebacker in Keenan Peely and a returner in Aaron Beasley. I think we're Tennessee. I still say it's going to be Jordan Matthews or Ricky Gibson. That's the star freshman of the group. And that's who I think 247 Sports missed out on. One of those cornerbacks will be every Vol fan's favorite cornerback, defensive back, midway through this year.
Could be. Here's what I like about Arion Carter that I don't think you like quite as much. And that is, I think he has the type of big playability sideline to sideline like a Jeremy Banks had last year. I don't know that Peely or Beasley have that quite as much. I like Beasley. I don't know that either one of those guys are the ones that really scare you on the entire field, which is why I think there's a hole for Arion Carter. I think that he is going to have a major impact. Now, if you give me both cornerbacks, yes, I would take Gibson or Matthews. But if I had to pick just one guy to have a major impact, it's him. Let's remember this too about Carter. He was here in the spring. He impressed people. It's hard for me not to think he's one of the top 4 or 5 linebackers as of mid-June, Caleb. So if he's that already and he continues to improve, he can be even better. I like a lot about his play, his athleticism, and what we hear about him. I don't know that Peely brings that to the table. And I think Beasley is somewhere in between as far as a very elite linebacker that can go sideline to sideline and that can also be disciplined in the box. Both are compliments, but I don't know that he's that guy that just runs around like crazy. I'm not comparing Arion Carter to Lawrence Taylor, but the guy that you just kind of let run around and do what he wants to do. To me, that's Arion Carter right now, and I don't see the other two guys fitting that sort of role. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And that's why I understand why you would have Arion Carter on this list. I just don't think he's as sure of a bet as a defensive back on this list. And I think that's where I'm at, is that.
Let me ask you this. If they played 3 linebackers like back in the day, would you have him on this list instead of a nickelback, which is essentially the third linebacker?
And I'm a Nickelback fan, by the way. Y'all can hate me all day. Huge fan.
Nickelback's horrible. But anyway, would you would he be on your list or stronger on your list if they played 3 linebackers like back in the day?
Yes.
Then you'd have Peely, Beasley. You'd have Peely, Beasley, Carter.
Yeah, I would have Peely, Beasley, and Carter at that point. And don't underestimate whether or not they might do that this year, because I could theoretically see, look, Beasley was a former safety. So he's a guy you can disguise coverages with a lot more than your typical linebacker. And so don't underestimate their potential to do this year, to kind of, I mean, I think one of the underrated things, something that has not been done yet in college football, I feel like, with the transition to a kind of more of a 4-2-5 nickel-based defense, is that I don't feel like coaches from the high school level have developed a player who could disguise the coverage where you don't know if they're going to line up at linebacker or as a extra defender in any given day. I think that's an underrated, unique thing coaches could tap into in football.
Yep, very fair. So who will be the top freshman on Tennessee's football team this upcoming season? I think it's Arion Carter in the field. I think Caleb, we're going to let him have two. He's going to go Matthews or Gibson and the field. And it's brought to you by Andy Mason at andymasonrealestate.com. andymasonrealestate.com will save you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on your next real estate exchange. And they have the best service and the best prices in the biz. It's pretty simple. So go ahead and check out andymasonrealestate.com. That's who I will be calling shortly when I make my next move later this summer. One that continually gets mentioned, and I don't want to sound like I'm throwing him under the bus, is Gabe Jeudy-Lally. I think Gabe Jeudy-Lally will have as big or bigger of an impact as any one freshman on this team.
Well, he's not a freshman, though.
Or he's a transfer, excuse me. So Gabe Jeudy-Lally was mentioned with Carter. As far as any incomer, I'm going to speak on that a lot. As far as any incomer, I think he'll have as big of an impact after having college experience, after having SEC experience. I just don't know that it's going to show up on the stat sheet. I think he's going to be a utility guy in the defensive backfield, Caleb, that's going to be able to play corner or safety, a lot of different positions. I don't think, though, that he's going to be the type of player that has 15 tackles for a loss at the end of the year. And we haven't even mentioned Dante Thornton, who, again, is not a freshman, is a transfer. But I love Gabe Jeudy-Lally. I don't want it to sound like I'm overlooking him at all. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think if we're going over to newcomers, I think the transfers are going to have a bigger impact than the freshmen because
Sure.
You're right, Dante Thornton, Gabe Jeudy-Lally, Keenan Peely, just those three alone are going to have. And and on the defensive line, I mean, John Gable Jr., Andres Carrick, Omar Norman Lott. I mean, we're talking almost everybody I named is either a projected starter or rotational player where they're the first guy off the bench if there's an injury at multiple positions. So I think of that group, I mean, if we're going to newcomers, I'm saying probably John Campbell Jr. because Tennessee just needs they literally cleared up space at left tackle for him to take on that position.
Yeah, there's a difference between who we think it will be and who it needs to be. It needs to be John Campbell. I mean, they can survive without Gabe Jeudy-Lally having a big impact. They can survive without Arion Carter having a big impact. If John Campbell doesn't nail down that left tackle position, you got problems, Caleb.
Yes, I agree. That becomes a giant concern. I guess theoretically you can move J.J. Crawford back over to left tackle and start Joe Mincy at right tackle because they both played left tackle last year, but you're not where you want to be.
But they could have done that too when they had the injury issue at LSU. They could have moved Darnell Wright back over to the left side. I get the feeling when they make up their mind, they're not going back.
Yeah, I that's probably true because I guess once you're working in the spring, you want to get settled into that position and make it second nature, particularly when you're running the tempo that Hypo runs. But this could be that they are just that confident in John Campbell Jr. Maybe they feel like he really emerged and they know they can rely on him there. So it could be a good sign either way.
It's an overall interesting approach, to be honest with you, that you put your best offensive lineman on the right side. That's intriguing to me. They did it with Darnell Wright when they flip-flopped him from 2021 to 2022 from the left side to the right side. And I questioned it. I thought it was a really bad move at the time. I would have kept him on the left side, but I was dead wrong. And I'm more than willing to admit that when that happens. That's actually the third time I've been absolutely wrong when it comes to Tennessee football. Just the third time in 25 years. What do you think about that, Caleb?
What are the other two? Is what I want to know.
Oh, I can't remember.
Were you a Brandon Stewart over Peyton Manning guy?
I was not a Brandon Stewart over Peyton Manning guy. I was a Todd Helton guy.